Good morning, everyone. It's a Monday. Ooh, welcome to the week, and hope everyone's excited about that. But for us, it's 7 days a week, and I'm sure it is for you too. And everything's pretty organised at the moment. Nothing really surprising going on, except for the fact that Simon didn't get to replace his halyard when he stopped off at Trinidadi, and he'll have another crack at that when he gets to Cape Town. So for now, pretty much get back into it. There's definitely three distinct groups forming though. You could say the three up here, Elliot, Ian and Arnaud, they're the tail enders, and then there's sort of a middle group here: Guy Waits, Jeremy, Captain Goog, Ayrton, and I think it's fair to say now that by the look of it on the surface, it looks like Damien is breaking through into this lead group. But when you get specific, and seeing we brought it up, I'll talk about it now. There's still, remember the Magic 550 when he got around Cape Finisterre. If we log this out compared to where he is, well, he's been making great gains in relation to the leader, Simon. If we put that there, still near enough to 500 miles. So he's only really made 50 miles on the leader. And remembering that Simon probably lost about, close to that when he sort of came into Trinidadi to seek shelter and then tried to get up the mast and got beat up and so on. So, yes, Damien's sailing really well, but he's still, a fair way from the lead. And the other interesting one is that if we step out the scope of the fleet now, we're spread out over, what do we got? We got nearly 1,500 miles. The fleet is separated, which is really quite amazing at this early stage. So going to make it tricky for us when we get to Cape Town. Whether we can get the back end boats or not, we'll have to wait and see. Also, they're taking longer than they did in the 2018 edition to get to these points as well. Bernard Matessia really rocketing ahead, so you can see the weather changes. He wouldn't be able to do that in this current weather systems the way it is, but back then Trinidadi to drop off messages and then or try and then head straight for Cape Town. But our guys are certainly not able to do that yet. We'll focus now on the from the back going forward. Elliot still be pretty happy, 6.5 knots. He'll be on top of the world there because he was, as we all know, going really slow. There's a consistent southeasterly happening over the fleet. 4.6 knots for Ian and 4.4 for Arnaud. So these two are going to have their own little race to see who claims the title of being back ender of the fleet. Anyway, and the weather here, we'll first of all look at Guy. Guy's struggling to keep up with the mid-fleet, but he's still there. 5.3, Jeremy 5.5. They've been squeezed over to the coast. Well, just run the weather through for the next few days up this end because it's completely different now. A day and a bit ahead, still southeasterly airflow, so they'll be happy with that. At least they've got air onto the 20th. It's nearly 3 days ahead now, still southeasterly, and if we go through to the 21st, it's going a bit more east. That'll help them as they get down. So by then these guys will be down around here somewhere and they'll be able to straighten up and come down. In fact, there's a distinct easterly airflow there. So a few days of just pretty easy sailing for them, not touching much in terms of sail trimming and so on. Just get on down towards Trinidadi. Captain Goog's coming across, 5.3. He'll be happy with that. He's got reasonable breeze, and then Ayrton same, and Damien going flat stick, still managing 6.5. You very rarely see him go under 6 knots these days, so he's obviously still working hard and he wants to catch these guys. One of the real reasons, besides this, there's tactical opportunities, winners and losers with the weather once you turn the corner down here, but he's got to be in touch with the lead by the time he leaves Cape Town, because most of the weather systems, if you talk about a high and a low, in fact, it's a bit hard to show it here, but they're between 500 and 1,000 miles across for a weather system, and he's got to be in the same weather system as these guys. Otherwise, it'll be really hard for him to try and keep in touch going through the Southern Ocean and over across to Hobart. Anyway, so he knows all that, and you can see here a little bit patchy. So Kirsten's doing 4.5 knots. That means Damien's gaining on her by 50 miles a day. So this is where it starts to get tricky. Pat's only doing 4.3, and Tapio's finally underway. He got becalmed for quite a while, lack of wind. in the shadow, or not the shadow, but in the area of Trinidad. He was commenting how he could see the islands, but he wasn't going anywhere. Abelish managed to keep in with the breeze, 6.6, and he's bearing away a little bit. He knows he needs to make easting, so he's just making the most of boat speed to get south as quick as he can. He's already said that, and Simon's got a bit of a hook. You can see now coming into this, here's the South Atlantic high, it's still way below them, but it's still hooking around from here, so he's managing to make a bit of easting at the moment, making the most of it. And it's going to get interesting because whereas we thought it was relatively confusing with this high, it's become very traditional. You'll see what happened is these guys are still going to be very challenging, but you see the high is a bit squashed over, but it's going to form up and become a very classic South Atlantic high starting to happen here. It was a minute ago. I just checked before I opened up. Here it comes. So this is now the 19th. So 2 days away. So in 2 days, Simon will be down around here somewhere. He's going to have this southeasterly, and then this high, this is formed up as a classic South Atlantic high, is going to come across. You see it's moving quickly to the east, and this is once again we looked at the projection of this high back on Thursday, Friday, and for the 20th, this is about where it was suggesting, a very distinct high pressure system, but not quite as far to the east as what they were suggesting back then, so it's slowing down a bit. But it's going to give, well, first of all, plenty of breeze here. They'll have a reasonable track down, and then it gets, if it moved across a bit quicker like this, you can see what happens. They'll be on the northwestern corner, and that gives a northeasterly breeze, which means they'll be able to hook along. And if they're lucky, this is what you hope for. If you're lucky, you can hold that northeasterly to northerly quadrant and follow the high across in the northwestern corner, so you don't have to go as far south as you may have been planning. So if we carry this along a bit further, we'll take it forward to this is the 21st, we'll go through to the 22nd. You can see it's come across, but it's not quite doing the right thing. So let's just say 22nd, that's 5 days ahead. So now that'll be 650 miles. We'll see where they are in 650. 650, ooh, yeah, they'll be here. And you can see here it's still a northeasterly. So they may get lucky, they may. And if we look at the latitudes here, we'll just put this on. There's 30 degrees south. And they may not have to come right down here into the roaring 40s. They may be able to, the lead boats anyway, will start hooking across. Then the mid-fleet boats, let's see what they're going to hook up with if this forecast is correct. If we come across a bit, it's disappeared. So the mid-range boats and the tail enders might hook up in this, whereas the lead boats could be quite a way across. So it's not looking as slow or dramatic as we thought it might be, and confusing. But anyway, still hard to predict.